On the campus at ZS Associates. ZS is basically a management consultancy firm, and its client base mainly involves pharmaceuticals. Like 80% of its client base deals with pharmaceutical industry. And the recruitment process was basically a 3-day process. On the first day, we had an aptitude test which was organized by an organization known as Hire Pro. The aptitude test had around 75 questions which we had to solve in 60 minutes. And the questions ranged from 5 sections, namely data interpretation, logical reasoning, quantitative ability, verbal ability, and there was another section which was not there in the other aptitude tests, and that was the visual section. Visual section was we had to see the screen and mark your answers right there. Like for example, I can tell you, like they gave one sentence and they asked us to find how many T's are in this sentence. So something like that. You just had to see and answer. And this was all that was there for the aptitude. On the next day, the shortlists were announced, like those who had cleared the aptitude tests. They had to go for a visual interview. Actually, it was an audio-visual interview, which was kind of like an online interview on a portal known as Talview. Someone write it down, because I guess next year also they'll have the same portal and probably some common questions as well. Talview, Talview. Yes. Talview video test had 2 sections. One was like they would show the questions on the screen and you would have to answer those questions, like record them on the microphone, like with a headphone and a mic. They gave around 7 or 8 questions for the Talview round, for the audio-visual one. Out of those 7 or 8 questions, they had around 5 to 6 HR questions and 1 or 2 guesstimates. So I guess you have to practice guesstimates from now on, because you have to think about the solutions of those guesstimates in around 50 seconds and then speak out your solutions in the online portal for around 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. And this was the first round of the Talview test. The second round was a written test. Like you had to answer around 3 questions in 15 minutes. And those 3 questions were like 3 paragraphs, like 100 to 150 word replies. There are 3 questions for 15 minutes. Like one question was like, tell me something about yourself, and then which animal is your spirit animal, and probably 1 or 2, like 3 questions more or less. Which animal do you listen? Okay, so this was all for the second day, and then final shortlists were announced for the third day, which was the interview day. And for the interview day, they selected around 25 people. I didn't tell you about the profiles. There were 3 profiles for which ZS came to JU for recruitment. They are the DAA, or the Decision Analytics Associate profile, the one for which I got selected. And other than that, there were 2 profiles. One was BOA, or the Business Operations Associate, and the third one was TA, that is the Technical Analyst. And that profile is not open for our department because it's only for the circuit people, because it involves coding. So if any of you are good in coding, you can obviously let your placement coordinators know beforehand so that he can pitch your case. So for the third day, 25 people were shortlisted for the DAA for the interviews, 30 people for BOA, and 8 people for the TA. But when we went to take it for our interviews, we saw that there were 171 people. Now, how did this happen? The thing was that not just JU, but other regional colleges as well participated for the ZS process, and the final round was held in JU. So ZS just came to recruit deserving candidates out of those 171 people, and they didn't have any quota for JU they'll take 10, for Shibpur they'll take 15, nothing like that. They would only take candidates they would find deserving. The participating institutes who had their final round in JU were IIST Shibpur, NIT Durgapur, and BIT Mesra, other than of course JU itself. So the final round, day began at 9 AM, and ZS were really punctual. they actually began at 9 a.m. So the people who came at like around 5 or 10 minutes late, they missed out on the round, and probably the round was held sometime later. I guess from our class, E1 came a bit later, around 5 or 6 minutes late, for which his final round was held around 1 hour later. And for the final round, ZS gave us case study booklets. So the case study is a unique round, which is, I guess, it's only there for ZS and not any other company. The case study booklet had around 8 or 9, around 15 to 16 pages of a case, a business case. Like they had some business model and 8 or 9 questions related to that business model. So people who are practicing data interpretation section for CAT, I think it will be easier for them. Although it's not entirely like the data interpretation of CAT, because you would have to apply your own logic there as well, because there were certain theoretical questions as to what approach would you have taken had you been in the position of the company owner. Okay, so this was the case study round. That was for 40 minutes, and after this round was complete, we immediately had to go for our case interviews. So there were many employees from ZS, so each of them took our interviews. We had like personal interviews, and in those case interviews, we had to explain the entire case to the employees of ZS. Like we had to explain what the case was, what we understood, what the questions were, and most importantly, we had to attempt all the questions, because there were some people who attempted some of the questions and got them right, but they didn't get the credit because they did not read the entire case. So reading the entire case and forming an approach is important. They are not looking for pinpoint solutions to each and every problem. They are just there for checking your approach. So in this case PI round, there were questions on both case study as well as some HR questions. So I would suggest be prepared with questions like why ZS and what do you know about the company, and also about why your particular profile, why not BOA, because there's a very fine line which exists between the DAA and the BOA profile. So I just suggest look up the ZS website. In the About Us section of ZS website, the entire information is given. And if they ask you what do you know about ZS, or for any company for that matter, like I'd suggest know like when the company was established, who the current CEO is, where are the company headquarters, and a bit more about the history of the company in general. And so this was the case round, and after this round we had to go for a PI round. So some people had 2 rounds of PI and some people had 1 round of PI. Like I had 1 round of PI, for example. So there we have to interact with a ZS HR guy who asked some of us guesstimate questions, and the others were asked questions mixed on both guesstimates and HR questions. So well, that was it. Like the questions they asked me was like, what did you do in your 4 years of college? Basically I did nothing, but I had to make up stuff and then tell them that yeah, I did tons of stuff. I participated in extracurricular activities. I had some certificates as well, and of course the internships are really important. The internships or industrial trainings, whatever you do, so you should know about them in details. And well, that was it. ZS, like the entire interview process was over at around say 12 noon for me, and we had to like wait for the whole day, and the results were announced at around 8 p.m. So they took 3 people for the DA profile from JU, 3 people for BOA, and 4 people for the technical analyst profile. So that was it. Yeah.
Okay, the question. All questions at first throw to him. He will take his question.
I did not specifically prepare for guesstimates, but what people do is that there are sites like Geeks for Geeks. It's really good, and it has an exhaustive set of guesstimates. Okay. You can also check out, I guess, guesstimates on Coda, because some of the answers are written there in details. So that helps. And before the ZS round, you can contact me, because ZS only gave around 3 or 4 guesstimates to almost everyone. So the guesstimate set was common. So the Talview test is for like the entire day. The portal is open. So if some of your classmates takes the test early, he can tell you what questions he faced. So based on that, you can formulate your own strategy. That is something which I did, because my classmates, fortunately, they like shared some of their questions in our class WhatsApp group. So like before the exam, I had most of the answers in my mind.